Hello again. Our story today also comes from the book of Acts. Remember yesterday we had a story about a man named Saul? Well, this man Saul, the Lord changed his name to Paul. And this story happens much closer to the end of Paul's life. Now, our story yesterday was from Acts chapter 9, and our story today is from Acts chapter 27. There's a lot of things that happened in between those chapters, and maybe you can read that sometime. But for today, our story is about Paul. Now, he was on a ship because he was traveling to the city of Rome. Now, Paul was on this ship traveling because he was going to Rome to be on trial, because he had been sharing the good news about Jesus and he had gotten in trouble with the authorities. Well, they didn't like what he was doing, and he ended up having to go to Rome to be on trial. So on the boat, there were a bunch of people. There were sailors and some other people who were traveling. Now, I only have 4 people besides Paul here on my boat, but actually there were 276 people all together on this boat. Well, they were traveling along and they ran into some rough weather. And Paul actually said, we should stop, because we are going to run into some serious problems. We're going to lose cargo, we're going to lose the ship, we might even lose our lives. But they didn't listen. They just kept going. Because you know what? Sea captains don't usually want to take advice from landlubbers. It's just how it is. Now, Paul had a special word from the Lord, and so maybe the sea captain should have listened, but he didn't. Anyway, so they were traveling along, and the storm got worse and worse and worse. And actually, the storm was so bad that for 2 weeks, the people on the boat didn't eat. Can you imagine? Well, the storm was so bad that they had to toss lots of things overboard. They tossed cargo and ropes and this and that and all sorts of things to make the boat lighter so that it wouldn't sink. But that wasn't enough. The ship just wasn't going to be able to make it to its destination. Do you want to help me make some storm sounds? Can you blow like the wind? Maybe pound like the rain. We'll have a big, big storm as they're sailing along. The storm is getting worse and worse and worse. Things are falling off the boat and people are afraid for their lives. But Paul said, listen, the Lord has spoken to me, and if you do as we say, nobody on this ship will lose their lives. So they listened to Paul. They ate some food, and then they saw some land in the distance, and they went toward it, and they got closer, but they got stuck on a sandbar. And while the ship was stuck on the sandbar, it started to break up. So the people who could swim jumped out of the boat and swam for shore, and people who couldn't swim jumped out of the boat and grabbed onto like some wood or something that was floating and went to the shore. So everybody got out of the boat and safely to shore. And eventually, Saul also got to his destination in Rome, where he was put on trial. As our Bible story book points out, when we're coming to this story in here, it says, Jesus' power gives us hope. So sometimes we might be stuck in a difficult situation and we just don't know how Jesus is going to make things turn out okay. But we can trust in him. He gives us hope that he will make things turn out okay. He will guide us through the storms. He'll guide us through those stormy seas or whatever difficult place we find ourselves in. We can always have hope in Jesus because he is our Savior and our rescuer and our friend, and he will help us. We just need to call on him and trust him and do as he asks as well. It makes me think of a song that goes like this. With Jesus in the boat, you can smile at the storm, smile at the storm, smile at the storm. With Jesus in the boat, you can smile at the storm as you go sailing home, sailing, sailing home, sailing, sailing home. With Jesus in the boat, you can smile at the storm as you go sailing home. Because Jesus is our hope.